So dreaming. Uh, there's a lot of different ideas on why we dream. Freud, we talk a lot about Freud. He had a lot of ideas, a lot of theories on why we dream, right? So Freud had many prominent thoughts on dreaming, as well as the, non-conscious mind. So Freud said that dreaming had two main functions, right? So make sure you guys get this. One is to guard sleep, right? So that's one. And the other one was as a source of wish fulfillment. That's the second reason, right? So, he Freud's all about the unconscious mind and all the motives behind it, and he thought, dreams, and that's what dreams were, right? Because you're dreaming, it's these, these subconscious desires that you have. So one, he says, it guards sleep, but the second one is that source of wish fulfillment, which I don't agree with, and we'll see why in a little bit. So manifest and latent content, right? So Freud distinguished between the manifest content, that's the dream storyline. So manifest content is whatever the dream is, right? The storyline of the dream. The latent content, that's the supposed symbolic meaning. So, he liked to interpret what dreams meant. And we're going to talk about theories at the end and which one I kind of believe in. But, he thought if you dream this, it meant this. Kind of like, and I hadn't heard this until I started working at Thornton. It's kind of like an urban thing. Oh, if you dream of fish, then someone's pregnant, right? So I learned that one from many people. And when my wife was pregnant with my second child, I coached basketball, and the other basketball coach was, and when I told her, she was like, "Oh, I knew someone was pregnant. I've been dreaming of fish all week." So those are, kind of those supposed symbolic meanings. So, for example, symbols of containers and long, rigid objects could symbolize the male and female genitalia and give clues about sexual conflicts. So that's just one out there. There's a ton out there that he came up with. So, what do we dream? Um, Actually, we dream mostly negative dreams, right? 8 out of 10 dreams have negative emotional content. And so this is one of the reasons I don't agree with Freud is that, our dreams are wish fulfillment. Well, why would I want all this negative stuff to happen? If 80% of my dreams are negative, why would I want that to happen? To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, there's a lot of criticism in Freud's theories. Also, failure dreams, right? People commonly dream about failure, being attacked, pursued, rejected, or struck with misfortune. So a lot of times we dream about failing. So that's this whole negative, dreaming that we have. Sexual dreams. Contrary to our thinking, sexual dreams are actually sparse, right? So a lot of times we think, oh, we always have all these sexual dreams. Actually not true. Only 1 in 10 dreams that men have are sexual, and only 1 in 30 dreams that women have are sexual. Now, maybe we tend to remember those dreams more because they're more emotional, right? So they stick with us, but it's actually not that common. So, what's some truths that we know about dreams? And that's Freud's book, The Interpretation of Dreams, of the picture you see there on the right. So, despite his theories, there is no solid evidence to support Freud's interpretations of that latent dream content. Dreams do, however, vary by age, gender, and culture. So, we find a lot of correlations out there. So, depending on your gender, culture, age, we find that people dream different things. So, children are more likely to dream about animals that are large and threatening, while adults dream about more pets. you know, who knows why that is? Maybe because children are smaller, so everything seems bigger to them. Women are more likely to dream about men and women kind of together, where men are more likely to dream about men. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a sexual way, it's just we tend to maybe dream about friends more or whatever it might be. And once again, these are just things they have found in surveys and stuff and sleep studies. So culture in dreams, right? Many studies have supported the theory that culture plays a large role in dream content. And so we found different cultures actually dream about different things. So like in Ghana, they tend to dream about attacking cows. So obviously something with their culture, maybe cows are sacred or there's something with cows in their culture why they dream about them all the time. And Americans, we tend to dream about public nakedness. So why is that? I mean, maybe because America is actually a very censored country, right? Where if you travel abroad, nudity isn't necessarily that big of a deal. It's just something that is, where maybe you have like topless beaches in other countries where you don't in America, or, you just see it where now, like everything on TV, everything in papers. Everything's censored in America, where it's very taboo. It's just part of life in other places. So maybe that's why, Americans tend to dream about public nakedness. Mexican Americans tend to dream about death a lot. That could have something to do with their culture, their religion. Most tend to be Catholic, so like maybe the Catholic guilt, something along those lines. So there is strong support for the idea that dreams reflect life events that are important to the dreamer, and we'll get to that in like the different theories of why we dream. But a lot of what we dream about, it's what's important to you, and that's why different cultures tend to have different dreams. So dreams. So why do you have dreams that seem random? All right, so typically the first dream connects with events from the previous day. Later dreams tend to build on a theme in the previous dream. So oftentimes the final dream is remembered most vividly, but has very little to do with the previous day's events or events that lay ahead. And so this goes along with the theory that I kind of believe in. So you actually dream, depending on how long you sleep, 4 or 5 times a night, maybe even more. So your first dream of the night starts as something that was on your mind, right? Whether, something you did that day or something you were thinking about, conversations you had, something like that. And then each dream builds on the next dream. But you can go off in some random tangent, and you tend to only remember the last dream that you had before you woke up because that was the most recent one. And so you might have been dreaming about aliens or some random thing, but it's actually started as something normal, and then each one just kind of built and your mind just took it on some wild ride, and that's what you actually remember. And we actually all do dream. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't dream." Well, they've done sleep studies and they've woken you up during your REM sleep, and then you've actually remembered your dreams. So we do actually dream, everybody. So what are some other theories? Not everyone believes that dreams have meaning and relate to the day's events. There is one theory called the activation synthesis theory. It says that dreams result when the sleep brain tries to make sense of its own spontaneous bursts of activity. So a dream then is the brain's way of making sense out of nonsense. So especially when you dream during REM sleep, you have a lot of activity going on. And so this theory just says your brain's just trying to make sense of all that activity. Right, and so you're going to see there's a few different theories out there. You make your own conclusions. Which one do you believe in? We know, talking about the different stages of the brain, that your brain's calm when you sleep, but it does get very active when you dream. So here are the other theories. The information processing theory, important memory-related function of sorting and sifting through the day's experiences. So that's the one that I was talking about, that I think makes the most sense. So it's what's on your mind that day, sifting through it. There's a physiological function, the neural activity during REM sleep, which provides necessary brain stimulation and growth. So we know that is when you grow. You only grow when you sleep, right? And so REM sleep, we talked about how it's your most resting sleep. So it's the neural activity that's necessary for your brain to kind of process everything. The activation synthesis theory, that's the one we just talked about. It's our brain's attempt to make sense of random neural firings in various parts of our brain. And the last one, the cognitive theory. Dreams are an embodiment of thoughts. So what this is saying is a dream is a pictorial representation of the dreamer's conceptions, right? So a dream is just you're just visualizing your thoughts, right? So here are like the 4 main theories, and then the last slide will also add another one, which is the Freud theory as well. So here are all 5 theories, which is just an excerpt from a textbook, right? So you have Freud's wish fulfillment, which says dreams provide a psychic safety valve, expressing otherwise unacceptable feelings contained manifest. That's your remembered content. And then there's that deeper latent content, which is like that hidden meaning behind it. Because remember, Freud's all about analyzing the hidden meaning of your unconscious desires. So what are some critical considerations? That's the right column. So this one, Freud's wish fulfillment theory lacks any scientific support. Dreams may be interpreted in many different ways. And there's a lot of activities we can do, and we've talked about where you're just, because you're doing it after the fact, you're making very general assumptions, and then you just make it fit your life. So that's not very scientifically based. You have the information processing theory, right? That's the one that dreams help us sort out the day's events and consolidate our memories. Some critical considerations is, but why do we sometimes dream about things we have not experienced? So And to kind of answer that one is because you're so creative, right? So it starts off as something that happened on during the day that's on your mind, but yet, it goes in some tangent. So of course, everything we dream about didn't necessarily happen to us. The next one, physiological function. We talked about the regular brain stimulation from REM sleep may help develop and preserve neural pathways. So we've talked when we did the brain unit, all these neural networks, and the brain, what it does, it helps build the memories, right? So because we talked about memory trace and that's how memories are formed. Well, if you dream about it now, you're tracing those neurons are firing again, and so it's making that memory trace stronger. So it helps consolidate those memories. But that's also why memories, and we'll do a whole unit on this. Why sometimes they're not accurate is because when you dream stuff, not everything you're dreaming is necessarily what happened. So the dream and reality get mixed together. And so that's why sometimes it's called a misinformation effect. We don't necessarily dream what actually did happen. So some criticisms of this one is this may be true, but it does not explain why we experience meaningful dreams. So why do we have these dreams that have this meaning? That's more of like a Freudian thing. Activation synthesis, REM sleep triggers impulses that evoke random visual memories, which our sleeping brain weaves into stories. So criticisms of this one is the individual brain is weaving the stories, which still tells us something about the dreamer. And the last theory, the cognitive theory. So this one says dream content reflects dreamers' cognitive development, their knowledge and understanding. But criticism says this does not address the neuroscience of dreams. So it's a great idea, but what about the science? The neuroscience of it doesn't really answer those questions. All right, so those are the 5 theories of why we dream.